You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Again, thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't yet, hit those buttons for us, please. If you want to continue the conversation beyond just listening to the podcast, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success, and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Got a second-time guest, a contractor that a successful contractor that we've had on before, but in talking to him at some recent conferences and through some things, he's like, man, the conversations have evolved in his business. So I wanted to bring him back on to talk about the evolution and to talk about these, kind of to even go more in depth as to how he's finding success in roofing. So today we have Nick Branon with Hero Roofing down in GA. What's up, Nick?
Hey. Thank you for having me on again. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Thanks for coming back on. So for people who may not have listened to the episode that you were on previously, give us a little background on yourself, a little overview of Hero Roofing.
Yeah, for sure. So we came into business in 2018. Me and my father actually own the company. He's the COO, the operations officer, and I'm the CEO. Again, 2018, from zero, since the day we started up till now, we've done a little over $12 million in revenue altogether. We just closed 2021 at $7 million. So we've grown at about a 200% growth rate year after year with employees, salesmen, and revenue dollars. And it's kind of been a whirlwind. My back history, I was one of those guys. I did a lot of different jobs. And roofing really kind of found me. Someone was hiring for roofing sales rep on Facebook. I jumped on it and worked for them for about 6 or 7 months before I opened my own business. But yeah, I was bartending, doing valet, teaching martial arts, doing anything I could do to try to make some money. But I really was, I think I was capping bartending like $2,000 a month. So it's cool now. I'm paying salesmen way over what I used to make, and it's become a blessing very, very quickly.
That's awesome, man. And really it is. This industry really, there's something to it, right? Like,
oh yeah,
there's the opportunities are abundant. And if you do the right things happen in your business. And I know you've been doing a lot of the right things in your business. And so first, a thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and we've talked about this a few times, is like, in marketing, like you guys do a lot of branding. You have really focused in on brand. Explain to me what your brand is at Hero Roofing and how you express that brand to your community and your perfect customer.
Right. So, with Hero Roofing, for example, at first the name and how we came up with this name is when I used to sell for another company. And it wasn't a bad company at all by any means, but a lot of things when I talk to customers, they would tell me like, oh, roofing's just got such a bad rep. Like there's so many guys taking advantage of homeowners and this and that, collecting checks and not doing the work and eating deductibles. And, the list goes on and on and on. Right. So I was like, what can we do to change the persona of the industry? So our slogan is, your roof hero, or the hero your roof deserves. We want to change the persona. We want to be that customer's hero among all those zeros, I guess you could say. So that's how we came up with it. That's how the name Hero, it just clicked one night. I was writing name after name after name, and Hero Roofing just kind of like stuck out to me, and was surprised it wasn't taken in the state of Georgia. There is a couple other companies with some very similar names that they get confused for us, and I think they get some piggyback marketing because of it. But so we went with the name Hero Roofing. We, starting right off the rip, just like every other roofing company, we did a lot of door knocking. I door knocked all day long and did a lot of marketing. And as our name and our company started to grow, then we started to focus more on creating a brand presence. And our company culture is pretty much called the Hero Way. Whenever we look at something, whether it's inside, it's the day to day at the office, or it's taking care of customer, or even outside, the 9 to 5 when we're at the grocery store, we always try to present ourselves like a hero and do what a hero would do. Whether it's open the door for somebody, or just going out of your way. Maybe it was paying for a police officer's meal behind you online, but just kind of change. Just trying to have the best. Kind of just trying to be the best we can in our industry, in our community.
So you guys essentially are living your brand. You want your sales reps living your brand, your production team living your brand. And in that brand, what I'm hearing is you started with this concept of like, how do we verbally express what we can do beyond better than, right? Like, how can we express that we are that we're not that Chuck in a truck, right?
Right.
That we're not good, right? Like, and that's a good place for people to start, right? Like if you're really thinking about your brand, that's a good place to start. Now, I know the catchy names are cool, right? And I've heard like guys like Dimitri Lipinski talk about naming your roofing company, how he named Storm Group Roofing, and you have a really cool name in Hero Roofing. But then there's other companies that I don't think it matters as much. I heard Gary Vaynerchuk. You familiar with him, Nick?
Yes, sir.
Gary Vaynerchuk is a big social media expert, marketing guy, and he was talking about, sometimes it's not the name, it's the effort that you put into branding that name.
Right. They'll say it doesn't have to be a catchy name at all. I mean,
that's right.
Roofing, but the way you brand yourself as Smith Roofing is huge.
The way you brand yourself and the way you express that, and so those types of things. So if you are trying to name your roofing company something catchy, not that it isn't cool, because if you could come up with a good catchy name, I think that's points in your favor,
right,
on the journey to this. But Google didn't mean anything, right? Nike didn't mean anything until they built the brand of those companies, right? They actually mean nothing, right? Like Google, you know what I mean? So in building that brand, what things have you done? So first of all, you've developed like kind of a company culture and slogans and values that you express, and that's how you are expressing your brand. What other things have you done in the community, or what do you do that you feel are branding activities?
So I would, I want to take a back step and say, as a new company, you have to market before you can brand. And, exactly what branding means is branding is how the community looks at you. That's your brand, is how you're presented, or how you're represented, I should say. But I mean, starting out, like I said, we did a lot of, marketing first, and then as far as a brand goes, it's one, we try to put our logo as many places as we can that has a good response behind it. So whether that's yard signs, whether that's a billboard, whether that's being on like I said, on a radio station, we were talking about earlier today. And then we also go past that, doing things with schools, is always good branding, things with the community, whether, and we have a realtor that does a Feed the Police every year. We've tried to be involved with that a couple of times. Whatever, helping veterans, we're real big on like the veteran rebates and the Rooster Troops. So when it comes like your brand, like it's how your community kind of sees you and what they think of you. And so what you attach yourself to with your brand is how you're going to be perceived by the community. So we try to do things, where we're consistent, like we're helping out, doing things. When we had a tornado hit last year, the guys were doing as much as they could to kind of help out past the roof. And, we were helping move like tree debris and cleaning up and things past that. That's how, the community is going to see it. So they're like, oh, those guys are some true heroes. They're out there helping out, doing this and doing that. Like that's how we were being perceived.
So I'm going to bring it back a step further. You said you have to market before you brand. And I had a thought. I think you have to sell before you market, before you brand.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Right. So let's even bring it back there. And a lot of times, like when companies are starting out, they're looking at, man, where can I go? Can I go and buy Home Advisor leads? Can I go and do SEO or pay-per-click or Facebook ads or whatever, like trying to market themselves, right? I guess buying leads is not completely, it's not marketing, but really what you need to be doing is selling. And I talk to contractors all the time, as you know, and one of my, the fastest route to a signed contract is boots and knuckles.
Yeah, knocking doors.
I don't care if you're retail, if you're in a retail market or a storm restoration market, the fastest way, the shortest route between, right? Like the shortest route between your company and a paycheck is knocking doors, right?
And we touched on it this morning too in my sales team is, and I told them when I started Hero Roofing, my father started Hero Roofing. Now he would drive me around neighborhoods. I'd jump out, knock the door, I'd get back in, he'd drive me to the next house, I'd get out, we try to be efficient with our time. And when I was knocking doors, no one knew who Hero Roofing was.
Yes.
We were the new kid on the block. So, that was the only way to establish business was to knock doors. So now, like for our salesmen going out knocking doors, at some point they have seen our logo and heard our name. So it is a lot easier for them to knock doors now. You have a lot of effective rate. But yeah, starting out, that's, like you said, before you market, you have to sell. And I think that is the quickest way to do is knock doors and post those roofs on Facebook. Knock doors, post on Facebook, get in every Facebook group you can. With our community, there's like 5 or 6 different Facebook groups where people are consistently posting. They're like looking for a roofer, and it'll be like a free for all. There'll be a bunch of people commenting different names, and so that's one of the things was get our customers into those groups as well to comment for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to knock doors and
knocking doors and then, relationships too, right? Making sure that everyone, in your life knows that you do roofing, right? Exactly. So that if they hear their neighbor talking about, hey, you should call Nick, right? Like it's, and so that's a good starting point. But now, for those of you that have gotten through that hustle stage and you're able to put some money in the bank. Now we move on to marketing. Where do you think, where and how should people be spending their marketing dollars, in your opinion?
I think starting out, I think the most effective bang for your buck first is going to be, a really good, not to plug in, but a good SEO and website person, off the rip. And then, once you got someone that can run the digital space for you, I think the digital space, especially in today's age, is very important. Everybody's scrolling on their phone consistently. You can be talking to a customer, face to face, and they're like looking down their phone on Facebook. People are consistently on social media. So having a good SEO, a good website person to market on the digital space is very important at first. And then, of course, having yard signs at every job. Yeah, we do like a big flag too. We have like this big flag that stands up. It's like 12 feet tall. We put it at the job site. And then, of course, having, truck wraps on, if you want to look at that, like as far as brand or marketing. I think when you have when you have a lot of trucks, I kind of look at that as like a branding aspect, really. Yeah. But that goes towards like once you start establishing business, then you can start more on the branding stuff, the stuff that's there every day. When I look at marketing, I also like, as far as tangible marketing, I look at like the shopper. For example, there's like the junk mail stuff. There's a company in our area, I think it's called Jack's Windows and Roofing. They're in every junk mail that I get to my house, but I've never seen one of their yard signs. I've never seen a truck. I've never seen them in person, but they're on every junk mail I get. So they're spending all these marketing dollars on places they shouldn't really. They're spending all these marketing on these shoppers and all these direct mail stuff, but they're not doing anything with that. They're not establishing a brand anywhere outside of it. They're not on social media. They're not on Facebook. And I think all that stuff's really, really important nowadays.
Yeah, digital, man. I mean, honestly, let's be realistic here. It's 2022. The internet is not a fad anymore.
No, exactly.
like,
No,
like,
and I even remember, like, I have a buddy of mine. He did our SEO when we started out business. He had a
yeah,
company called the Millennial Group, and he went into real estate. So he does the real estate stuff now. He's more successful at that. But I remember I had someone that approached me about doing like their ad and their ad in like one of those shopper things. And I was like $500 a month. And he's like, look, Nick, you're better off spending that $500 a month on Facebook ads. You're going to get more return. You're going to be able to track your return a lot easier too. And I 100% agreed with that. And that's what we did. And we definitely got more of a return on investment on that stuff.
yeah.
You know?
And that's the thing that I talk to our, when I talk to contractors, and I do lots of presentations, as you know, and stuff like that all around.
Right.
And there's the marketing funnel, right? There's a marketing has a funnel. At the bottom of the funnel is when people are looking to buy. In the middle of the funnel is where there's some intention to buy, but they're not ready to choose someone yet, or they're just kind of almost ready to choose a company to work with. And then there's the top of funnel, and that's that informational kind of content. So in that, your trucks and things like that around town all the time, your billboards, that's top of funnel. That's just awareness. That's brand awareness.
Right.
You can't start with that stuff. But there is a progression in your company where you start with, and this is our philosophy, is you start with that bottom of funnel. You start with trying to show up on Google when people are looking to make a phone call, right? Best roofers near me, right? Like
Exactly.
those people are looking to make a phone call. So we're starting with that. That's kind of the closest thing to that direct sales approach, right? Like it's, to door knocking. Like door knocking, you're finding that person that wants to raise their hand.
Basically knocking on internet doors.
You're knocking on internet doors. That's the Facebook side of it, right? The digital door knocking, being in front of people and things like that. And it is much easier to track your ROI on those type of campaigns. As your business grows, what other marketing channels have you ventured into?
So with us, as we've grown, like you said, it's been more towards outside of the SEO, and of course partnering with you here recently, which has been huge for us. It's been, of course, we're on a couple radio stations now. We have 2 billboards. I think we have 10 trucks wrapped total. We're about a logo, a couple more. We got one wrap. We got 2 wrap trailers, but one always just sits in the back of our warehouse. Our office space, I look at our office space as, a lot of people look at office as an expense. When you're going to rent an office, look at it as a busy road. We got flags outside our office. We got logos on our office door. Our office is basically a huge billboard. It's basically a billboard that costs $3,000 a month that we're able to work inside. That's why I look at it. So that is a marketing tool for me, or a branding tool, is having our office space. Yeah, we have the trucks, the office space, the billboards, yard signs at every single job, having a job manager with a logo truck at every single job. All that stuff's been pretty huge for us. Dope marketing. That's one of our. We've teamed up with them
Starting
now.
The targeted direct mail.
Yep. I've been a huge fan. I like Dave is an awesome dude. I'm a huge fan of dope marketing, and same thing with like getting to see you at a couple conferences. I've gotten really close with those guys.
Yep.
And they've done wonders for our business. It's been really cool because we can schedule a roof replacement in a neighborhood, and direct mailers go right out there. But to even take that a step further, that's now teamed up with you. That Facebook ads are going directly to that neighborhood as well. So I mean, me as a consumer, if I live in a neighborhood, and a roof's being built in my neighborhood, I see the truck, and I see the flag, I see the yard sign, I see the roof being built, and then I get direct mail in the mail, and then I get on Facebook and I see their ad as well. If there's an issue, I'm probably going to call them. Like, I mean, I'm one of those suckers. I buy stuff on Instagram all the time from and it's after I've seen it a couple of times that
that's right. It's after
so
you've seen it a couple of times. Yeah,
I know it works, but that's the thing, is you want to be seen 5 to 6 times usually before a customer is going to purchase from you, unless a tree's falling on their house, and like you said, they're going best roofers near me. Then you want to make sure you're ranked and you're at the top and you got a lot of good reviews.
Yep, for sure. And so in that process, like there's levels to it, right? Like radio is an investment, right? Like it's hard to track that direct ROI. So once you get past those kind of initial things, a Facebook ad, a Google ad, some SEO, like certain things like where it's very trackable, as you're growing with your marketing, what I'm hearing is you start to get into less trackable opportunities, which are kind of more branding opportunities. But you feel it in your business if you do it, right? Like you can feel the difference. You can feel it's a different conversation at the kitchen table. Do you guys feel that way now?
Oh yeah, I mean that's one thing too, like our closing ratio has gone tremendously up as well. Like we close at a lot higher rate because we've worked on dominating our marketing, being an
Yeah.
authority and being seen as much as we can. And like you said, it comes with growth. You got to put that investment back into your business. You guys if someone has a really good month or a good year, I should say, like that's when you want to jump on a billboard. That's when, whenever you can wrap trucks, they need to be wrapped. But yeah, when it's you and the other roofing company in front of, you're doing your spill and the other company just did their spill. And they may not really know who they are, but they've seen our trucks 3 times and they've seen us on Facebook. And they've seen our reviews on Google. It's a lot easier to close those jobs. Yeah, I mean that's been huge for us, and we've blown up a lot with this past year. Like I said, we had a tornado that hit, and we had a couple of different, surrounding areas that suffered because the tornado that hit Noonan. Like we didn't do as much business in Fayette County, but that tornado, like we might have only done 250 jobs off that tornado, but the 250 jobs has grown our brand presence tremendously. That's 250 people saying Here Roofing's a company that helped me get through this. Here Roofing's a company that restored my house. So now, I mean, we may not have done a whole lot of dollars this past year, or more than as much as we wanted to, but going to next year, like we don't need the tornado this next year because our company's so huge now.
You got to, it's that long-term thinking and understanding the value of that long-term customer. When you're doing that, I like to ask people who refers you,
right?
And it's people who you have done good work for, right? Beyond your friends and family, right? Beyond your circle. The way you get referrals is by doing good work for people, right? By doing work for them and creating a raving fan out of that client.
Exactly.
So that's kind of what you just said. You're like, look, we did these 250 jobs, but I know that out of those 250 people, they're going to refer us for years to come. Like anytime roofing comes up, they're going to name Hero Roofing, right? And that's a great thing to impart on people, is that it's a journey, right? And if you think about the number of roofs that you've built in your company's history, like as that number grows, your referral base should grow also, right?
Getting those referrals are huge too. And one thing I would say to any roofing company owner is definitely train how your office, whether it's your inside sales representative or your office assistant or secretary, whatever position that is, make sure when the customer calls in, we ask the homeowner, it's one of the last questions is, and how'd you hear about this? Whether they say it's Google, or they may say, we heard you on the radio. I think that's happened 3 times this year that they heard us on the radio. It was like, they were listening to the radio while they're driving and they called us. And we're like, yes. But usually it's going to say they either, they saw a yard sign, they saw a truck. They were most of the time though, it's internet. Like 80% of it, it's either internet or it's referrals. That's the majority of if I ran a lead source report right now, majority of our business is internet and referrals, right? So then when they do say that they were referred to us by a friend, we say, well, can you let us know who exactly referred you so we can thank them for the referral? That's one thing the office assistant needs to do is ask them who that referral is so they can thank them for the referral. You don't have to send that person money. I'm telling you guys, a lot of people want to pay for referrals. You can if you want. If you want to send them a $25 gift card, a $50 gift card, that is what it is. I would at least send them a thank you, give them a call, just show some appreciation to them because they're going to make sure they continue to do it. We just started giving gifts out, like when we're doing our our closing final, like when we go get our final check, we're giving them a gift. It's coming from Cutco, getting shipped to them with their name on it. And I think like that's going to be huge for us, because it's going to be one of those things where that customer can, like you said, remember you for years to come. I love asking people that did not get the roof done by us who did their roof, and a lot of times they can't remember. My father-in-law, my wife's stepdad, I should say, he got his roof done like 6 or 7 years ago, and he doesn't remember the name. I just like, see, that's the difference between me, is like I want people to remember me for years and years to come. And you even got to train your sales reps at the same point. Like I don't want the homeowner to remember Hero Roofing. I want them to remember whether it's my sales rep Stone or Austin or whoever it is. They need to establish that relationship with the customer.
Yeah. It makes so much of a difference. One of the things that I kind of heard in that was that you have a process, a very defined, it sounds like, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you have a very defined process of how this happens. How have putting the right processes in place in your business helped you grow?
So we're doing, processes have been huge for us. I think that starts with CRM. Like at first, like every contractor gets a CRM, or maybe not at first, maybe they do it down the road. I think you should start at first. It's day one of opening a roofing company, get a CRM. But I feel like at first the CRM makes the process for contractors. They look at lead all the way to invoice, like that's my process. And that's how we were at first. That's where and now I encourage every roofing company owner, every business owner to actually write down their specific process. Like if you had a perfect customer, how would you want that to go from the day they called into your company until the day they get closed out? So we've written that down, we've broken that down, and we even have a process when it comes to, with our production, like when the job gets approved, it gets signed up, we get a deposit, an automated welcome email goes out to the homeowner, materials get delivered, materials get scheduled, all that stuff, it's a process, it's repetition. So for our production manager, like he's got it down like the back of his hand, it's nothing new to him. He can just turn and burn these roofs basically. And so every single step's processed, even like the final, that, like I said, that final closing, when the sales rep goes out to meet the homeowner for the last time, we even have it now where even if they've paid the job manager the day of the job, and there's no money left owed, our sales rep still goes out one last time, meets that homeowner, makes a little video for him, gives them a gift, obtains that 5-star review and obtains that referral. We're going to, that's a process that we will do every single time, because again, that's going to establish that relationship with the homeowner. And that's a big point when it comes to branding and marketing. Like a lot of contractors are missing out on revenue dollars just by they're turning and burning roofs. And as soon as they get that check, they forget about that homeowner. They move on. They don't take care of them ever. They don't check in with them. They don't establish a relationship. I mean, I was talking about this morning with our sales team, is we got to stop looking at conversations or at people as transactional relationships. They got to go past, we got to want to establish a real relationship with your homeowner. Don't just look at them and see dollar signs. Look at them as someone, if you can make a friendship with it, make a friend out of them, because they're going to talk about you for, like you said, years to come. But we got to quit looking at stuff as just transaction.
You had mentioned that the first marketing guy that you used, he was a buddy of yours, and now he's in the real estate business. I think real estate professionals do they do this at a high level sometimes. I lived in Denver for a lot of years. The neighborhood that we lived in last was a neighborhood called Baker, the Baker district. And there was this one realtor, her name is Vivi Glorio, and she moved into the Baker neighborhood, or she had lived there. I can't remember, but she lived there. She lived in the neighborhood, and she made the conscious decision that she was going to be the Baker neighborhood realtor, right? And this is how in real estate they look at that. They call it farm or niche, right? So you either choose a specific area, location to be the expert in, or you choose a niche like golf course homes, or something like that.
Right.
But what she did is she became not just like the local expert. Like I got to know her over time, and like she got to know people in the neighborhood and become friends. She became friends with like so many people. She was just very social. She was always out and about in the neighborhood. And then all of a sudden you started seeing her signs in yards everywhere. And then you see right now she has a storefront or an office right on the main drag of that neighborhood. And but what she did, I remember this, it was a lot of years ago, but I was like, this is brilliant. She had like a Friendsgiving party, like around Thanksgiving, right? Like, but it was like a neighborhood Friendsgiving party. And she invited people from all around the neighborhood to this party that she threw, and just made friends with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
But she made friends with them and made sure that they knew what she did. Right. Like, and that's kind of what you're talking about. They have to know what you do, and you have to develop those relationships, right? There's like these, it's relationship building. That's what it is. And that's where the long-term value comes into into the equation with these customers. Getting back to the processes, if you were a contractor, like starting out with your processes, someone that has no processes in their business, where would you start?
As far as building a process?
Yeah. And what process did you build first, or would you build first? Like, what would you, and then kind of as you go through,
you gotta start from the beginning of
the customer journey
pipeline. Yeah.
Okay.
Of the customer journey. Right. So my first process would be, how do I want to look when my phone rings and I answer it and I say, this is Nick with your roof, and how can I help you? What's that process as far as getting their information and getting to their home? All right. And then like, let's make sure we all got that down. And then from there, what's the process on actually getting the roof inspected and getting them signed up? And then from there, you want to break down the process, of course, of, what's it going to look like in my company when we get them on the books and get them scheduled, depending on where you buy from. With us, we use AccuLink, so we're able to do a material and labor order through our CRM directly with our supplier. So what all processes are you looking for? And then, of course, like you said, if you're starting out, are you working by yourself? Do you have like with me, I fortunately have my father running the operations side, so he was able to handle that process. And now we have a production manager handling that aspect. So you want to know what part of the processes you're specifically handling, and then what's being handled by someone else in your company. I was watching Demetrius interviewed a guy in Florida that sold his company to a Fortune 500 company. He was like, he built in 10 years, he's built an $85 million roofing company.
Total home. Yeah. Total home. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess he sold it, but he was talking about if he started over, what would be the first person he hired? He said a sales rep. A lot of people like to say, a secretary and office, but he said his whole thing was to create the business and make it run itself. And it all starts with sales and trickles down. And he would, he can answer the phones and have someone selling roofs. So, again, what's your process look like? Who's handling those in your processes? So with him, if that's how you would start, if I had a salesman first, which I think is what we did do, we had me and my father, Yep. He was running operations, and I hired 2 salesmen first, trained them. So now they are, so what that process looked like either me or Todd, my dad answering the phone, setting up the lead and sending the salesman out there to close the deal. And then from there, the process was, getting the permit pulled, getting the deposit, getting the material scheduled, getting the crew scheduled, and getting everybody out there within a week to 2 weeks period to get that roof put on for them. And then the process of, if it's an insurance claim, what's it like with us turning in the COC and getting that back end payment, and then getting it closed, warranty, getting the review, and then moving on to the next client. Yeah. So I would say, when you look at a system, let's just say it's AccuLinks, and you got lead, prospect, approved, completed, and invoiced. I would say for a roofing company owner to look at that system and then take your lead and break that down on how a lead should look in your company. Because if you don't, what you're going to end up doing, you're going to end up having salesmen down the road. You're going to have leads, and they're going to sit there for like 2 to 3 days. I mean, I've had to hire a new salesman, and he went out to a customer's house, did the inspection, put all the notes and files in there, and I'm looking through, and I'm like, why why has he got 7 leads? And I click on his leads and they're all photos. They're all, he's got information on everyone. So I call him, like, look, dude, these got to be converted to prospects. And he was just missing that part of the process.
Yeah.
Very important. Like once you step foot on the property, it's now a prospect. It's no longer just a lead. Yeah. So again, you want your team. That's why I say write it all out, because everybody should be on the same page as what your company's process should look like. But break it down. Don't just go off the CRM and say this is the way we're going to operate. Break those steps down to what fits your standards and your needs.
Here's what I love what you said is start at the beginning of the company journey or customer journey. Start at the beginning. What I see contractors doing is the first place that they try to develop all their processes in production, right? It's in production.
And I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but you're going to get way more leads and prospects than approved jobs, because you got to think, even if you have a 50% closing ratio, you're going to get 100 leads and you're going to sell 50 jobs. So you got to have your process, the process of the beginning down way better than your production. Because if you get that process of what it looks like to go from lead to prospect to approved down way as much as you can, you're actually going to sell more and you're going to get more people into approved.
Yeah. And if you can't book an appointment, you can't get to an inspection, you can't get to the kitchen table, you can't get to an approved contract, and there's no need to systematize your production because you're not going to get anywhere. Right? That is the biggest challenge that we see with our clients, is that first part of the process in booking that appointment, selling the lead. I had a guy, Jason Phillips Home Improvement on the podcast, and he has a call center now, so he's more evolved in his business, but than just starting out. But talked about selling the lead. His when the lead comes in, a phone call comes in, it's not just answering the phone, it's selling the appointment. Right? And having that ability to sell the appointment, set the expectation of what they're going to experience when the salesperson arrives, and how, and all of that, so that they're feeling good about the process and comfortable with getting you to that to that kitchen table, right? And by the time you get there, there's more trust, right? If you answer the phone, hello, or this is Nick. Yeah, I called Hero Roofing. Exactly. Yeah, this Hero Roofing. Like if you just the slightest of things make that impression, right? And I love that, starting from the going through the customer journey. And what you're talking about, the customer journey is built in your CRM, right? Like, so just you can walk through right through those steps. How did you guys, did you build the process? Did your dad build the process? Did you get contribution from the teams, from your team members? How have you found the best way to build that process?
So yeah, it was definitely a team effort. We were in business way too long before we actually wrote this down on paper and made it very tangible for everybody to see. Yes. Now, when it came to training, when someone came on to our company, we had a training process, we had a training program. They trained for 2 weeks. They went through every process of our company. They knew what all we did. And one of our lead sales reps, Stone, was the one running most of the training at that time. But since then, like I said, we've written down our full process on what we want a perfect customer to look like, because it's changed a lot. We used to not do the automations. We used to not have the marketing. So all that stuff has recently changed. So when we did write our process out, it was me, my father, Todd, our production manager, and a couple of our lead sales reps that sat down with our office manager, and really Stone Adair, our lead sales rep, and Alicia Mullins, our office manager, is what actually he scribbled some stuff out on a notepad. He gave it to her and she turned it to magic. And we got this like cool PDF now that we can give to anybody with our company. Because that way, if they're dealing with a customer and they visit their house a couple times or whatever the situation is, they can now look at it and be like, all right, this is where I should be. Is this where it's at, or what's going on, but this is where I should be. So it's going to make the communication with the homeowner improve, tenfold. And that's one thing when we get busy, if you're a new contractor and a storm hits and you guys get gun ho and you go and jumping on these jobs, you're going to get stretched thin. So if you have a process in place beforehand, you're going to be able to, automate, I guess. And then when I mean by automate, I mean almost like autopilot. Like and I don't mean like having like even your CRM doing, but you're gonna as a person, you're gonna be able to automate communicating with homeowners, letting them know what's going on, and it's gonna help. It's just gonna be a lot smoother system.
Yeah, automating the consistency
Yes.
of the interaction with your company, right? Like you're building a consistent interaction where you're not dropping the ball on this one and doing well on that one, and time gets over here and you forgot about that one. Now you have a process, you have a flow that goes through through each project, and then it's consistency, right? And that's what McDonald's is built on, right? If you can have teenagers running a restaurant, you got to have good processes. So
that's true. It doesn't matter how long it takes to get my chicken nuggets. Get it down for sure. And I look at that like, I think last time I was on your podcast, I think the big quote that I said was, I want Hero Roofing to be the Chick-fil-A of the roofing industry.
Yeah, that's right.
Still true to this day. And then we put, we have like a presentation we give the folks, and that's kind of in our presentations. We want to be the Chick-fil-A of the roofing industry. And if you go to Chick-fil-A, like literally go through their line and you will learn so much about it. One, they have a really good process. They now got, if it's not too cold in Georgia, if it's below, I know this is probably funny to you and up there, if it's below 40 degrees, nobody's outside. They're out. You got to wait till you get to the window. But if it's warmer out, they're out. They're approaching your car before you even get to like the ordering box. They order your food, but it's not even past that. You can tell, like as a Chick-fil-A employee, like again, they're not being transactional. Like they are wanting to take the very best care of you. And that's the thing. Like with roofing is, we're all, I'm not the only guy selling GAF, so like what's different between me and the other guys? It's going to be the customer experience. Like having a really good customer experience. So, and you can see that going through Chick-fil-A when you go through that line, is like how they treat you. They're nice, they're presentable. They know their stuff. They know what they're talking about. They can ask you what condiments you need before you even ask them for them. They hit all those answers and questions before it's needed. And then when you get up to that window, your food's in your lap, like, and you're ready to go. There can be 60 cars in that line and you still get through it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that's what I try to do with Hero Roofing. Like, how great of an experience can we make roofing? Because spending $10,000 is not a great experience. It's like getting your, having nails all around your garden, being scared for your dog. And, you got to ask permission to go for that day, at least ask permission to go outside and walk the dog, or you got kids or whatever. It's a lot going on. It can be very frantic for a homeowner. So how great of a process can you make it? How good of an experience can you give a homeowner?
Yeah. And that's such an amazing way to think about it. Because there, I mean, really, if we get down to the basics of it, everyone is doing pretty much the same thing, right? Some are doing a better job on building their roofs, and some are cutting corners, and but for the guys in your area that are great roofers, right? They're producing a great product for the homeowner. They're building great roofs. Now, how do you differentiate yourself? And that's what you're talking about. So that's a great mindset to have. In that, kind of, you have your processes, but then, to me, you have to have the right people to run those processes. How has that been in your business, and what can you share on kind of having the right people?
I think when it starts, it starts when when you open your company, and again, like you figure out, like you said, it's past having to catch a name, right? What's your company culture about? So that's, our company culture again is the Hero way. So hiring people that fit into your culture is huge. If you have a certain culture about your company, and it don't matter if you guys are all racing motocross and like to get tattoos on Sundays, look for someone that fits into your culture and is aligned with your core values. And I will say I've learned a lot about hiring in the past year. I've hired some crazy people, and it's cost me some money. But what it is it's not. And I don't think I'm the other one. I think as a business owner, knowing where I came from as a business owner is really what it is. Knowing my background and knowing where I came from, and now seeing what I've accomplished, I know the. So I was like, man, I had a lot of potential in me. Like, this is what I've done, right? So when I'm hiring people, it don't matter where they came from. I'm like, man, I see the potential. And so, like, a lot of times we will ignore red flags and hire those folks anyways. I think we have to learn as a business owner to look at those red flags first before we look at the potential, and make sure we are really vetting these people when they come on. And one thing I've done past that is we used to just have like pretty much one interview, and if I liked him and I thought he was cool, we'd hire him. And then I'd get on his Facebook and find out he's crazy, right? So the first thing I do now is if when someone applies to our company is I find their Facebook. I find their social media is the very first thing I do. I find them on social media. I look through their social media as far as I can. And then if I think if their social media passes, there's nothing crazy on their social media, because that's a big thing about your brand image. I want my sales reps on Facebook and Instagram posting the roof replace, like posting on there saying get your roof replaced, using social media as a tool. So if someone's crazy on social media, they're not going to be a good fit for us. Then so since then we'll do like a Zoom call, like a Zoom 10-minute Zoom interview. Again, if the Zoom interview goes pretty well, then we'll bring them in for an in-person and have them meet not only myself, but a couple of our leaders in our company. Because I had one of our leaders, his name's Austin, and he's actually helped hire a couple. We got both his uncles work for me, and his brother-in-law interviewed with us today. And so he's actually brought on some really good folks to our business. And so he's, the people that we've hired and had to let go, he straight told me, Nick, if I would interview that guy, I would have hired him. And he told me that like day one. He was like, I wouldn't have hired him. I've met him now and I wouldn't have hired him. I'm like, man, I need to start letting you vet these folks, because clearly I'm just seeing this guy can do it. And that's the gist of it. So I would say lean on some other people's opinions, when it comes to hiring someone. Do a lot of research. If you want to run a background check, it doesn't hurt, right? But vet people as well as you can, and make sure they fit they're in line with your core values and your company, and ask them real questions. A lot of people go, oh, I saw you worked at Walmart for 6 months. Did you like it? Okay. Can you sell roofs? Like, ask them legitimate questions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you have any personal core values? What do you think about, one of our core values is integrity. What does that mean to you? Really what do you do? What do you do outside of work? That's one thing I ask every person now. Is I ask them what do they do on their free time. If I see they got a ring on their finger, I see you're married. You guys have a dog, any animals? Like, really get to know that person in an interview as much as you can. Like, even if it's a 10-minute interview, use that 10 minutes to really get to know that person. Don't just ask them the generic questions that you got asked when you got interviewed. Because I remember, like, when I got my first job as a server, like, I showed up, can you work nights? Yes. Okay, hired.
Hired, yeah.
And then you end up like working with the craziest people, and you're like, man, they hire anybody. They really do. And that's why their turnover rate in those kind of industries, like the restaurant industry, and I think it's in roofing too. I feel like the roofing has a very high turnover rate. And here at Roofing, half of our staff has been with us almost now since going on 2-3 years. Day one, really. Most of our core people, like, if they fit in our values, they're still here. They're not jumping ship. They're not anywhere else. You got to really vet those folks, make sure they fit into your culture, and then take really good care of them. Yeah. And one thing I've learned too, we've hired some people for some certain positions. I recently hired a guy to be a job manager, but he came from insurance. And so what we've learned is that, you got to find people's strengths. So we hired him to do job management, but now we're converting him to do supplements for us in the office. Like that's his strength. Like let's empower that. We've had another guy we've hired to do sales, but we've learned his strength is actually being on the job site all day with a homeowner. So we made him a job site coordinator. Like you gotta help, you know, see what people's strengths and weaknesses are and capitalize on those. That's really what's gonna make a company grow.
Yeah, definitely. And it's right butts in the right seats, right? Like, and the first thing that I look at, like if I have, is, did we train them well enough to do their job? Right. And then do they have, the right skills to do that job? Because if they don't, well, maybe there's a better position for them to be in. That's a honest thing to do, right? Like it's an honest way to run your business.
And as an owner, like you have to take responsibility. And
Yes.
I had a conversation with one of our sales reps, and I learned this. This was Marcus Lamoni said this in, at the roofing process. He said if you got someone that you don't like working with, you need to go to that person and have that tough conversation. Say, look, I don't like the work. I don't like the work relationship we have, or I don't maybe you don't like the job they're doing. And I take responsibility. I'm the one that trained you, or I take responsibility. I'm the one that put you in the position you're in, and then see how they take that as well. Do they take responsibility? And because if they do take responsibility, then you need to keep them and you need to work on that relationship. I thought that was one of the biggest things I took away from that roofing process conference.
That's a big one, right? And that extends like to me, that extends beyond just work relationships, right? If you have someone in your life that you're like, man, I don't know if I want to hang around with this person anymore. They're doing some things that I'm just not okay with. And if you have a conversation with them about it, right? And you're like, hey, man, you're not going down the right path here. I don't know if I want to hang out with you anymore. If they take self-reflection and go, man, really? I'm sorry. I should, I'll think about that. I'll be conscious of that. Then that they're sincere in wanting in the intention of having a relationship with you. Right. So if they go, oh yeah, great. Thanks for telling me, whatever, that's right. Like it's the same thing, like in life in general, right? If you're talking to someone, if you're trying to a relationship, work relationship, outside of work relationship, have honest conversations with people. And if they don't, you'll be able to tell where they're at. You'll be able to gauge that relationship level with, if there's someone who says, oh yeah, I know, maybe I know you said you didn't train me well, but I think I think you trained me pretty well, but I'm not doing as well as I think I can either. Like when you get that response, yeah, they're invested, right? Like they care at least enough about their work relationship in your company that they're not just like, all right, Nick, whatever, fire me then, like, because some people will say that too. And then you can be like, good, we could go on. What other things now, as you've grown, right? As you've grown and generated more revenue and are, you're out there, you're buying more products, you're doing things. What are you doing to make sure that, I don't know, you're squeezing the juice on the financial side of things, right? That you're making sure that you're profiting, you're keeping your company as profitable as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can drop here, but I would say the biggest thing we do, of course, is, with how much, the bigger you get and the more product you buy, you're going to have, I don't know what the word is. I want to say influence or what, but suppliers want to keep your business either way, right? Yeah. So we consistently have 2 to 3 suppliers that are always wanting our business. We buy the majority from one supplier, and the other one is always trying to get our business, take us to lunch. I'm gonna let you guys know, as an owner, like take the free lunches for sure. Those, you think about when I've had 12 free lunches the past year, like that's another $200 I've saved, right? So jump on those opportunities. But what I would say is with us is about every, of course this year's been crazy. We've had a lot of price increases, And the cool thing is with me, I consistently negotiate with my suppliers. And because of that, I'm usually the last one to get a price increase. And when I do, it's still lower than like what the other guys are getting. But again, it comes with buying power as well, with us purchasing as much material as we are. So usually if we got one supplier trying to get our business, and a lot of times before I even, entertain like lunch or something, I'll ask them to email that their price list. And if their price list is lower than who I'm buying it from, I'll send that price list to that supplier and tell them like, look, you're charging me, $85 a square for shingles. I think it might be more than that now, but you're charging me 85 a square. This supplier is going to charge me 84. More than likely, they want to keep your business. They're going to match it, because and I've learned too, like if you have a really good relationship with a good supplier, give them the opportunity to match it or lower their pricing or compete with that other company. Because a lot of times the other company, what they're trying to do is just get you in the door. They're gonna tell you their pricing is better, their pricing is lower. They're gonna give you a deal, you're gonna get in the door, and then a month later, they're gonna be like, we have a price increase. And then they're gonna jack all your prices like way up. And you're gonna be paying more than you were at the other supplier. But use them as a point to check your other supplier. I mean, you guys should consistently be checking your supplier's pricing. I think I was telling you, we do GAF, so we offer like a golden pledge warranty. So one thing I was like, man, the felt buster is pretty high. So I called my supplier. I'm like, look, man, like is there a way I can buy this felt buster like in bulk, or maybe I can buy it from buy it, somewhere else in bulk, or however I need to do it. And he's like, oh, let me make some calls. I'll call you back. So he called me back, late afternoon. He's like, look, I got your felt buster down $5 a roll cheaper just by asking, just by having that conversation. It's so, I would just don't just say they give you price and just say yes, okay, and move on. Consistently check those pricing, because even if you're doing 100 roofs a year, if you can have conversations with your suppliers that could possibly save you $2 a bundle, that's going to add up. Also, when you start buying, you start doing a lot more roofs and you start getting buying power. You can ask them if there's any incentives or kickbacks that you can get. I don't know if can get in too much trouble for talking about stuff like that, but definitely reach out to your suppliers and see what they can do. Some suppliers do incentive trips. They do all kinds of stuff to keep your business.
Suppliers and manufacturers do incentives like that. So make sure that you're taking advantages of the incentives that are available to you.
Yeah, GAF is pretty open about it. They have like Instagram ads about the rebates. So I will talk about GAF. If you are a GAF installer, you need to hit your GAF rep up and ask if there is a rebate. And sometimes you got to hit a certain tier in business. Like you may not get it right away. When you're doing enough dollars, they're not going to give it to the guy that's doing 30 roofs a year or 50 roofs a year. But if you are putting on a good amount of roofs, they will give you a rebate, and you can use that for advertising and marketing. Our GF rebates, we use all in advertising and marketing. Technically, I don't pay you, Jim. GF pays.
I know. It happens. We also work, we're an ICO Roof Pro partner, and that, it depends on the level you're at with them as to what kind of discount you get with our services, right? So, the higher level you get in these programs and things like that. It's not just the incentives that they're giving you back. Check on the discounts you're getting from vendors and other things like that. There's a lot of, and that's where those details on the finances will make like a completely different impact on your business. That, like you're saying, that could pay for your marketing,
right?
And if you are investing in your marketing, you're investing in more roofs, which like this thing is a snowball effect. If you're managing your finances properly, you know what I mean? Like you're that's a big part that, a lot of people overlook. They just overlook it. So quickly, I've asked you this before, time has passed. Now, what is the greatest insight that you could share with our audience that would help them find success in their roofing business?
The greatest insight, and I think when it comes to roofing, like I said, we're all kind of doing the same thing. The best advice I could give anybody in this industry is to to give it 100% and to do exactly what you say you're gonna do. If you ask my dad, like if he was to put like his nutshell of our company is that we do what we say we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And that is, and it can be the smallest thing. Tell a homeowner you're gonna be there at 8 a.m., be there at 8 a.m. Just try to provide the best experience you can to the homeowner or to, if it's a commercial job, to the commercial business owner, whatever it is, provide the best customer service and follow through with what you say. And from that, you can build your company and your processes and everything else around that. But it's really just, this industry just needs really good people, so, I think at the end of the day, like if we can all just be really good people, we can take really good care of homeowners and commercial business owners or whoever it is, and we can all make good money. And that's the thing. If you take care of folks, you take care of people, you put people first, like money will come. Don't look at a person as a transaction. Look at that as an opportunity to build a relationship and to build your business. Look at every person as a relationship and an opportunity to build your business, and take really good care of them and follow through with what you say, and you'll be set.
Awesome, man. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.